This nibble originally aired on RSBANDB Update, episode 797, The Warden of RuneScape. Enjoy. You say you're not a roadmap person. You've been very, very clear about that. And, we come from an era in the past where we had week-to-week update videos, month-to-month update behind-the-scenes videos. Now, many people, when they see this, when they see the new Warden in town, so to speak, with this, we need to see, they want to see effectively a new level of accountability brought forward. These players need to be convinced that this strategy will work and won't be abandoned after 6 months in time. So to you, is that a question where it's either you prove yourself through regular content delivery and being on time as expected, or is there something else that factors into that as well?
Before I answer that, I'd kind of want to ask you, what does accountability in this form look like to you typically?
Well, it would be in the same vein of, say, okay, we come out on a live stream or we put out a dev blog on a piece of content. This content is either late or it doesn't tick all the boxes that were promised, or it's, in the same vein as something like the mining and smithing rework was, where it's promised at a Rune Fest and then it gets dragged out years. Are we going to be in a situation where we're not going to do that, either by you holding the cards closer to your chest and not talking about it until it's ready, or is there going to be something else associated with that you can do?
Try and answer this in a few different ways. I think one of the things the community maybe did like is we had things like the month ahead, right? I'm not so keen sometimes on the month ahead in that format. One, it took a lot of effort for us to produce, where we're not always making the game, right? Because we're trying to produce this piece of content. So whatever we do, it needs to kind of scale, right? I've chatted with the team about looking at some different formats for this. I'd say I don't have a solution in place. So like, hey, this is our path forward. We'll probably have to experiment in this in a little bit. So when I say that I'm not a roadmap person, it's not that I don't operate by roadmaps, and I have tons of roadmaps behind the scenes. I've got a roadmap that I work internally that's updated every week. What I'm not wanting to do is put all the cards on the table in a particular order, because likely that order, the delivery, the timing will change, right? So that's
and in doing so, you sow that doubt in the player community. Hence why it's important to fix that.
Exactly. Now, can I do better in trying to paint the picture? Well, I did bottle up a whole bunch of things that I was able to talk about. I can foresee us doing more moments like that, right? So it's like maybe when I come on stream, I'm talking about the next couple months, because the next couple months look really clear to me. I don't see that they're changing, or that we have high confidence in delivery, right? Another indication of accountability would be, I don't want to be like, hey, we were supposed to release something today, and you all of a sudden get, it's like, hey, sorry, you didn't release something today that you were expecting, right? So I would rather be that person that gets ahead of it, a couple months ahead, and say, if we'd say, hey, we're going to put something out 4 months from now, and maybe at that moment it was very clear that it was, let's say, what we call green on our day-to-day, and then all of a sudden, for some unforeseen circumstances or poor planning or something, it's actually a red item and we can't deliver that thing, right? Well, what I'd be working with the team, so, well, what are we putting in its place then, right? So rather than deliver nothing, what can we come to the table with? Let's talk to the community and say, hey, we had to make a change. This thing wasn't ready where it was. We want to stand on quality, but we still want to deliver some value. So rather than just take away, I like to say, this is what I can give. And, likewise, that was the exact same conversation we had about archaeology and War's Retreat. It's like, I didn't want to take this away, but I wanted to frame it. It's like, no, we make this decision for the right reasons. It's the best thing for the product, best thing for the players. but this is also something we could give.
Right. And you also touched on how you could have potentially delayed farming in herblore as well in that same vein.
Yeah. Yeah, in the same vein, right? And then I would actually say, like, over the course of 2019, I'd say one of the player favorites of our content was actually the bank rework, right?
Yep.
That was a huge thing. What I think we didn't do very well is how we framed it and talked about it, because it kind of came in and it didn't get a lot of shine, but there was a lot of really hard work put into that.
Yeah.
And the players loved it.
And
right?
that's what we said too. I mean, at the time, you remember this, Tanis, we said, why aren't they calling this the bank rework when it's quite clearly a bank rework? Instead, it was just a bank improvements.
But again, that's an example of an awesome headliner, right? And I didn't have our new product marketing person in place yet. We had already worked out that we were going to hire this person, but he couldn't get here until January. And then this was the other thing why archaeology was awesome, is I got to have the new product marketing head, his name's David. He joined us in January, and he made a tremendous impact on the archaeology launch for us. We had actually did some reworking of the logo, of the archaeology logo, and the key art that went into that. We actually dropped some Easter eggs in there with Zeros in the background, and I don't know if people picked up on the tattoo or the design on the pedestal, but like these were things when we start talking about narrative and creative briefs. It's like, no, let's take a step back. So we actually did some rework on our creative and narrative in the same way. I
caught on to that.
And it's like when I was looking at, wow, this is amazing. We put out 50 releases. I actually don't think we do the best job kind of framing it, titling it, clarifying it. So you probably see, like, even our release notes formatting that we have was to help with this, because we, rather than just be a bunch of random bullet items the way sometimes we wrote them, we're trying to think a little bit better on how we communicate things and group things together, create themes and the like. So
you can find full episodes of RSBANDB Update right here on this YouTube channel. If you found this video useful or just enjoyed it, like and subscribe, or leave a comment.